but what we're trying to do is bring some clarity to a pool that has been pretty muddied in recent days and weeks. But it's boxing, folks, so there's nothing new in that. I'm delighted to say on this bumper edition of boxing, we are joined by promoter Ben Shalom and a man I've known for a number of years, Sky Sports legendary boxing commentator, Mr. Adam Smith. Adam, how are you, sir?
It's good to see you, Jim. I'm very well. Boxing is, as you said, unpredictable, exciting. What's going on behind the scenes and what's going to go on in front and in the ring in the next 4 or 5 weeks for us is fabulous. So it's a brilliant start to the new year, and we hope it's a very successful one for our sport.
Of course. I mean, it is a huge month for boxer, and this man is at the top of that company. He's promoter Ben Shalom. Ben, you look way too young to be a top promoter in the world of boxing. You know some of the sharks you're in amongst.
I was just saying to Lee, 5 years ago, I borrowed money to get my promoter's license, and here I am today, I think, with the best schedule in boxing on Sky Sports in the next month. So, yeah, it's been a crazy journey, but I think we know the sport really well. We're not controlled by any of the other promoters. I think that's why we're able to make the fights that we can. We're not involved in the politics, and it's been a crazy journey since we got Sky. I think a lot of people thought Sky Sports Boxing was sort of dead on its feet in the summer, and so to be back here now with, we think, the biggest British domestic fights that can be made all in 1 month. Yes, it's a dream come true.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk through those fights that are on the horizon with you, Ben. And as you rightly say, it's going to be a very, very busy month. Not least, Simon, with Can against Kell Brook.
Absolutely.
Simon told Kell Brook virtually to his face, Ben.
I know, I saw that. I thought that was hard.
I was listening as well.
So
I disagree, by the way.
I don't think Kell was all that happy about that, but that's what you get with this man, Mr. Jordan, who I say on a regular basis knows his boxing. Spencer, we cannot go any further than talking about the news that we believe is looking more and more like, although what do we know? I've said it is the strange world of boxing. Anything can happen, everything can change. But the most recent news in the last 20-25 minutes is the word is that it goes to purse offers tomorrow night, which is a virtual auction in that sport. The sensible money now, as sensible as it can be, is that Tyson Fury will next go in with Dillian Whyte.
Well, listen, there's been so many moving parts in this heavyweight division, isn't there? None more so than the last 28, 48 hours. You know, like I say, I spoke to someone who knows Maurizio Suleiman very well. He gave me a statement to put out saying the fight was going to purse bids and been pushed back till Friday. Then we get breaking news this morning that fight is definitely going to happen, and Joshua has refused step-aside money, so it looks like he's going back in with Usyk. So, as it stands, as we understand, we're looking at Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury, but we have no dates on that. And we're looking at Joshua versus Usyk, but we have no dates on that. But
see,
that's looking
Adam's
as
grinning. Adam's used to all this. This is a sport that you're steeped in. This happens all the time, or does it, Adam?
Well, it's happened before and it will happen again. There have been many twists and turns in the time I've been in the sport, last sort of 25, 30 years. But this heavyweight division is fascinating now, and obviously we wait to see, first of all, what Anthony Joshua's move is. You know, he's meant to have a new trainer. The Alexander Usyk rematch is a very dangerous one for AJ, obviously, but he is a man that wants to challenge himself at all times. Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury, the men with the belts. We want to see the division unified.
Yes.
Most people I've been talking to want to sort of see two semi-finals. Tyson Fury against Dillian Whyte and AJ against Usyk, and the winners meet. There's been talk about the step-asides, obviously a lot to take in, and business decisions as well to be made. But I think I'd like to see Fury against Whyte. I think that Dillian deserves his opportunity after a long, long time of waiting. Purse bids keep getting pushed back. We think tomorrow's the final deadline. Who knows? It's still in the air.
Adam, can I ask you a question? So if this fight with Fury versus Dillian Whyte does happen, does Anthony Joshua find himself in a situation where he has to go into that immediate rematch?
I think he's always wanted to, Spencer.
I know, but it's the new trainer situation, changing of trainers. You know, could it be too soon for Joshua? It's a dangerous fight, a very dangerous fight. A lot of people felt he shouldn't be going back into straight away anyway. I spoke to Joshua. He wanted to right the wrongs. But do you think that he's in that situation? If that fight goes ahead, Fury-Whyte, do you think he's in a situation where he has to go back into the fight with Usyk?
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, he's evoked the rematch clause. He wants revenge. He wants to become a 3-time heavyweight champion. He did it against Andy Ruiz. He's got to go back to the drawing board. This new trainer situation will take time to bed in. Do I personally think it's the right thing to do at this time, or whether Usyk and Fury should fight and Joshua should bed in a training camp for a while and wait for the winner? Possibly, yes. But AJ's his own man. He's in charge of his destiny. He's always told me he wants to fight the very best. He ducks nobody, and that's what I love about Anthony Joshua. He may not be the number one at the moment. That's Tyson Fury. Alexander Usyk, one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in boxing today, full stop, period. But Anthony, what I love about him is that attitude. He wants a war. He wants to test himself. And he wants that rematch. So it wouldn't surprise me if it is Fury Whyte, AJ Usyk straight away.
I mean, Simon, we've been saying, obviously, the same goes for football as well, Adam. Don't believe everything you're told. But we were told in the world of boxing that Anthony Joshua wanted close to 20 million quid and a guarantee that he'd step up to fight the winner before agreeing to step aside to allow Usyk to take on Fury. I mean, do you read anything into that? This step aside notion, Ben? This is your world now.
I think everyone's missing something. Dillian Whyte was never stepping aside. I speak to Dillian's team. He was never stepping aside.
You think he was, Spence?
No. I said he refused the first offer.
You don't think he was prepared to? If the money was right.
It depends if they doubled the offer, the first offer. I've got to tell you, the first offer was a substantial amount of money apparently that he had refused. So that tells you that he didn't want to step aside and he wanted his shot.
I think AJ could have stepped aside. I can see why it makes sense for AJ, but for Dillian, it never made sense. And I don't understand. I think the only reason this has dragged on is because the purse bids were 80-20. That's not fair on Dillian Whyte.
Yeah.
So it's dragged on and it's dragged on and it's dragged on. The WBC won't call the splits at 80-20 because it is unfair. So that's dragged on and dragged on. In the meantime, there's all this talk about AJ stepping aside, which is fine. I can see why that makes sense. But Dillian isn't. This fight was always happening, in my opinion.
You think Dillian was never going to step aside?
Fury Whyte was always happening, unless Tyson decided to vacate his belt.
So Ben's saying Dillian is in there and it wants to fight Fury, and this was always the case. You think tomorrow night, when it comes to burst bids, things may not be as guaranteed.
I was going to ask
as
the boys
look.
about the dynamics of it, because they haven't been able to reach a decision with the WBC because they can't get the purse splits. So now you go to a purse bid where, let's say Eddie Hearn comes out with that purse bid and he comes out as a sole promoter and he wants to give Dillian Whyte, his fighter, a much bigger part of the split. He wants to give him the 45-55 ratio, and Tyson Fury doesn't want that.
He can't do that.
So he's now bound by the fact that they've let it go to purse bids, and whoever comes out of that purse bid,
if the deal isn't done before,
they've got until the time. That's why it keeps being delayed.
But am I correct in saying here, with the WBC, they come to the 20-80 split because they looked at the last two purses of Tyson Fury, 30 million in his last fight. Dillian White had reported 300,000.
That's what they decreed. Spencer.
Yeah, that's why
Team
they've come
White
up
are
with
not
that
happy
split.
with that.
Yeah,
They're
but
trying to
that-
make
that
the
was
fight,
just-
and that's why the purse bids are being delayed.
You're smiling, Ben. What did you know?
What purses are declared to governing bodies fluctuate all the time depending on the relationships, what's going on at the time. There was a reason 20 million was lodged with the WBC at that time, probably with foresight, and there was a reason Dillian Whyte was agreed 300,000, probably from previous. So I think looking into that is again just another sort of promoter trick, and I think 80-20 isn't fair. WBC are nervous to call it 80-20 because they know that, and that's why it's dragging on, and it leaves Dillian in a difficult position because he's trying to negotiate a deal that's better for himself, but the foundations have been set at 80-20.
Yeah.
So even if he negotiates 70-30 before the purse bids are called, I think he feels like the problem is the low rate WBC have
Ben,
set.
But he gets his opportunity.
He gets his opportunity.
And that's what he should
that's
do.
It. What is fair? What is a fair split for Whyte? I mean, we're now taking it as if it's a given that Whyte fights Fury, but that's what we're understanding. What's fair, Adam? What's fair, Ben?
I think at least 35%. And I might get in trouble for saying that.
well,
But Dillian Whyte is a pay-per-view star in his own right. He's proven that in the UK. If the fight's going to happen in the UK, he can generate a lot of money himself.
And Ben, if he doesn't hit those numbers, if he doesn't get the 35%, then what is the situation then? And he doesn't agree to it. Then does that mean he misses his chance? Does he miss that opportunity?
Let's see if the WBC have the balls to call it at 80-20.
What do you
Tomorrow, well, they keep delaying, don't they?
What do you envisage the financial size of this fight will be? A £30 million fight?
Yes, 30 million, yeah. I think.
Okay, so he's going to get If he gets 35% under your logic, I would have thought 60-40, but 35% under your logic, he walks away with £10.5 million, which is by far the biggest payday he's ever had. He's taking a smaller percentage than he would want, but of a bigger pot. So in real terms, Dillian has to back himself, doesn't he?
He does. But
I think that's a great deal for Dillian.
Yeah,
he also has to.
Deal.
Yeah, but the promoters on the other side have to agree to that.
The Fury
35%.
Sure.
And they're at the moment looking at a purse bid that says 80-20.
Okay, does anyone round
but
this
if Eddie
table?
Hearn wins that purse bid, he's not looking at 80-20, is he? He's already turned around and said in the press, he's my fighter, Dillian Whyte, and I'm going to make sure he gets a fairer split.
Maybe.
And 80-20 was not a fairer split.
Maybe he'll agree something on the slide, but whatever he bids will be split 80-20.
Right.
And he's got to bid enough to win the bid.
Jim Whyte and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.